Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Sunday morning live stream as I try to figure out which camera I'm talking to. Thanks for signing in today. If you're catching this on the replay, thanks for joining me. Today, we're going to be attempting to see if I can fix the knob jitter on this Electribe ESX-1 sampling groove box. I've also got the Electribe EMX-1. And both of these boxes over time have developed the dreaded knob jitter. And what does that mean exactly? I'm just going to see if I can show you before we actually get started here. There we go. Once I actually start interacting with the machine, some of the knobs kind of start jittering and they sort of act like I'm turning them and, interacting with them when I'm not actually doing that. You can see the screen here was kind of stuck on the time knob, and there's the depth knob moving for the effects here. And as I kind of, touch the box, we'll see some jitter happening here. Now I've got a camera that I can use for close-up today as well. So I'm going to see if I can zoom right in and kind of show you guys what I'm talking about here about the knob jitter. Do you see those values changing there on the screen? I'm not, touching the unit at all. And so it's thinking that we're touching those knobs and getting ready to interact with those, and that is called knob jitter. And I guess it's a really common occurrence on these old Electribe ESX machines and on the Electribe EMX machines. Now I'm trying to record some drum beats out of this machine so that I can include those drum beats in the new sound bank that I'm making for the Poly End tracker. So I really wanted to record some of these drum beats that I've got in my Adrenalize expansion pack for the excuse me, with the wrong camera again, for the Electribe ESX-1. So I'm trying to get this knob jitter sorted so that I can record these beats out. This is really not my forte, like opening up gear and trying to fix it per se. And I was attempting to take both of these Electribes into a local shop here in Los Angeles. But their waiting list is very long, and there's no guarantee that they can fix the units. I got a lot of advice online saying you can fix it yourself, and here's how to do it. I read a lot of threads on this, and people have had a lot of mixed results. Obviously, whatever's going on with mine might not be exactly the same thing that's going on with another person's unit, so mileage may vary on these kind of fixes, which is, kind of made me a little bit wary about opening these boxes up, as it were. But I had such an easy and successful time with the EMX one, and it's no longer doing the knob jitter. And the fix was actually so easy that, if that's the problem with this one, I think we can definitely fix it today if it's the same issue that was plaguing the other one. And we're going to, go through this step by step so that other people who are experiencing this knob jitter might be able to benefit from this as well. But before we get started today, I'm going to go ahead and try to find the stream on my channel so that I can chat if anyone is tuned into the stream. All right, looks like I am tuned in and we are live. What's happening, Sean? What's happening, Samuel? Hey, Tony. Hey, Grant. Hey, what's happening? Sky Tortoise Ferryman, thanks for tuning in. We got Low in the chat. We got Greg. We got Walt. All right. You guys might see, a really excited guy, or you might see a really disappointed guy. We're going to see if we can get this going today. We're going to start by taking a look at the tools I've got out. I've just got a pair of scissors. I've got a little flathead screwdriver. I've got a little Allen wrench out. I've got a Phillips screwdriver and a flathead screwdriver. The first thing that we're going to do today is go ahead and power down the unit and unplug the unit. I'm also going to set a bowl here that I'm going to put all of the parts in that we remove today as well. And let me just grab a sip of coffee. Yeah, no hammer today, but that might come afterwards if the stream goes lousy. No, I'm kidding. actually, the reason that I sort of gained the confidence to open these up on my own is that the local shop that I have spoken with and agreed to take these, I figure if they're going to take them and look at them, it's probably not a lot that I'm going to do by just opening it up carefully to mess it up any more than it already is, per se, because in the state that it's in now, the unit is unusable. So it's not like I can really make that worse. And if if the last measure comes up, then I'll probably end up just taking this ESX-1 into the shop. But it seems like for now, I've eliminated the need to do that on the EMX-1. So let's see if we can get started today. We're going to go ahead and first things first, we're going to remove all of the knobs from the unit, and some of these are easy, and some of these are not easy. And when I tried to remove them on the EMX-1, some I was able to get with my hands, and some I needed to get some tools for. So we're going to go through that knob by knob, and you've really got to commit to pulling them off because they're kind of on there, pretty tight sometimes. All right. Doing so far pretty well here. And I'm going to try to go slow today. This might be, in the long run, a little bit of a boring stream for those who, aren't looking to fix the knob jitter on their Electribe unit. But I'm hoping that if we get this fixed today, that showing the fix will be really handy for other owners of this unit and also the EMX-1. Okay, so these three knobs here were giving me a little bit of a hard time, and I don't want to scratch the finish as I'm removing the knobs. So I'm going to try to use this cloth and a little screwdriver to sort of wedge the screwdriver under the knob and just pop it up a little bit. Cool. I'm trying to be super gentle because I don't want to damage the shaft or the pots underneath here. This one's a little stiff. Come on, guy. There we go. Okay. So now we've got all of the knobs off of the unit. And if I take an Allen wrench now, I can start loosening all of these silver Allen bolts that are keeping the face onto the unit here. All right, I'm going to check in with the chat just real quick. What's happening, Tony? Hey, Jamie, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Andy, all right. Let's see here. Okay. So these are coming out pretty easily. I figure as long as we just carefully put all of the parts into this little bowl here, we're not likely to lose any. And I didn't have any problem with that on the EMX-1 surgery. So hopefully this will go equally as smoothly. And I wanted to do this in real time as well, as opposed to a video, because the other one really didn't take me all that long, all things considered. Now, this is not my forte, opening up gear and trying to fix it per se, and I was really, pretty nervous, I guess, about doing this to the EMX-1. But again, it really went so smoothly, and I feel like I got really lucky with that. And hopefully, we're going to get really lucky with this one today as well. All right, we're just going to continue here, removing all of the silver bolts around the top of the unit. Cool. All right, just two more of these, and then we can pull this faceplate off. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I appreciate you being here. All right. I know we usually make music on these, but I thought that since I was successfully able to repair the EMX1, that this might be a really great opportunity to do something else on the weekly live stream other than just, making music. All right. I'm going to go ahead and put these tools to the right-hand side here so that I can utilize the left-hand side of the table. Cool. We're really carefully going to just sort of lift off the top of this here. Oh, I've got one knob. What am I thinking? Still got a knob left. Let's get that last knob, shall we? Really gentle and with this cloth so that I'm trying not to scratch the surface. All right. There we go. Okay. So here's the cover. Looks a little scratched up on the inside. I'm guessing it might have been open before. I'm going to set the cover to the side for now. Okay. Now there's a few more screws here that we'll need to remove to be able to actually get this unit up and out. But you can see here we've exposed all the pads, and it looks pretty interesting once you've got the cover off. So let's continue removing some of these screws that we need to remove here. There's four silver screws around the top, and these need to come out. There's one. And one more. Okay, now if I'm not mistaken, these black screws around the side here do not need to be removed. And we're going to carefully find out if I'm right in remembering that or not. As yeah, I can lift this out. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and move the screwdriver here. And I'm going to carefully lift this out and turn it to my left. And the reason that I'm doing that is because there's some ribbon cables on the inside that are connected to our arpeggio ribbon slider here. And so if we try to flip it the other way, those cables will not exactly reach. I'm going to go really slow here. All right. Probably hear me breathing a little bit heavy on the mic there. All right. So now we've got it open. Now this looks pretty clean on the inside. I'm not seeing a lot of dust right off the jump. I'm not seeing, a lot of corrosion, or rather any corrosion on some of these parts. Maybe just a little bit here and maybe a little bit there, which we'll do a little bit of cleaning on. But I think what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and remove this other plate so that we can get to the inside of where the knobs are. And we can take a look in there, because oftentimes, apparently, the knobs might do a little bit of leaking, and the grease that leaks out of the knobs might actually be what is causing this. So we're going to do, actually, before... see if I can switch to the close-up cam. Cool. Okay. Before we do that, I need to remove this tiny... oh, cool. I need to remove this tiny connection here, because this is connecting the main board to the actual ribbon controller on the top of the unit. So there's kind of a... you can sort of slide this. I can't really hold the camera and do it, but I wanted to really make sure I could get in close on that. Now, I was able to do it on the EMX1, and there we go. And then, okay, cool. So, switch to the camera again. So, once I've moved this little guy forward, now this little plastic thing just kind of pops right out. Okay, and that's what's connecting our ribbon controller to the board. Now, we can unscrew the board and remove it without it, being stuck here with this little connection. Okay, put that over here. Go back to this cam. Whew. Taking a deep breath, guys. All right. This is going really well so far, though, as far as we know. And we're going to go ahead and remove these black screws that are holding this side on. And we're going to do this super slowly and super methodically. Maybe not methodically, but definitely slowly. Sorry for the extra wind on the mic. I had to turn my air conditioner on in here just a little bit because it is. Summer is coming, and it is coming hard. Excuse me. Okay, so we're just going to carefully make sure that we remove all of these black screws. Now, I was really lucky when I was doing this particular part of the process with the EMX1, in that when I was able to slowly remove the board, it looked as immaculate on the inside here as it did on the right hand side, and there wasn't any like grease or oil leaking out of the knobs, and I just kind of carefully put it all back together again, and hopefully that's what we're going to be doing today, that exact same thing. But if there is rather a bunch of grease coming out of the knobs, we are going to attempt to clean that. And hopefully we won't need to, but maybe we will. And I think I'm prepared if we do need to. Question for the floor: why are the circuit boards green? I have no idea. Hey, Fade Man, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Susan. All right. Let's see here. I've got a few more guys. Okay. Still a few more. Really careful on these corner screws because there's a lot of wires that are connecting these, two boards together. We want to go slow. We want to make sure we get all of the screws that are actually connecting this. Looks like there's still quite a few more. I've also read all of the threads that I could find where people had this same issue with their unit. People had different, levels of success doing the fix that we're going to do today. A lot of people, it just worked. For me on the EMX, it just worked. But a lot of people said that when they were unscrewing these black screws on the underside of the board, that these screws had kind of maybe come a little bit loose, and maybe that's why the connections weren't super tight anymore, and maybe that's why they were having a little bit of that knob jitter. And some people reported that just tightening these screws up on the underside of their board was able to fix their problem. But again, there's been, people who have done this exact same procedure and were not able to fix their unit. So there's definitely no guarantee here. We're just kind of going slowly here, and I have the backup of being able to take this into a local shop if I need to. I think that's the last screw because it feels like it just came loose there. Now what we want to do is, it's still connected here, and we want to kind of lift this up and lift it out really gently and sort of fold it back over to the right. Okay. Now let's change the cameras and get all up in here. Cool. Now, it does look like an old unit, but, really, there's no visible, dirt. There's no visible leakage coming out of these two sort of main knobs here. Apparently, there's some different kinds of knobs on the unit. These knobs here, if they're faulty, you need to unsolder them and resolder new knobs on. I actually have a few of these knobs if the shop needs to do that, but I'm not really versed in soldering and removing parts. But these here, apparently, if you look really close, there's 4 little metal straps that are keeping this closed, and if you pop those 4 little metal hook strappy things open, you can actually get the top piece of these screws to come out, and then you can maybe clean if there's some sort of leakage. But there doesn't really appear to be on the inside of this. So I think we're looking really good so far, actually. And let's see here. I'm just going to kind of really, really gently kind of go around each of these now that I have the knobs off and that they're, fully exposed, and just sort of, a little bit of dust in the slider here. Got rid of that. All right. Yeah, these all look super clean, and everything on the inside of the board looks great. I don't see any corrosion or any leakage whatsoever, which I suppose is a good thing. Looks like this is popping out just a little bit over here, so hopefully we can get that to sit right back where it goes. Okay. Come on, little guy. Okay, cool. I'm going to actually kind of lean this up at an angle here so that the pieces that are poking through aren't, it's not resting on those pieces. Inside here looks really good and really clean. I mean, pretty much brand new looking. I don't see, anything obvious that we would need to deal with here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try to put this board back onto the top and screw it back in very carefully. And here we go with that. Looks like, okay, those are moving a little, but I think if I hold those into place, we can maybe get it. Let's try. This might be a little bit difficult getting this back on. Or maybe not. Let's see. Are we sliding in there? Nope, I'm losing pieces. Okay, so this is a little bit different than it was with the EMX because I didn't have these sort of pieces flopping around here. But maybe what we can do is just put this in first. So the buttons go through. Yeah, I'm really glad that we're showing this in real time because I did not have this sort of issue with the EMX1. So this is a little bit interesting. I'm sure we can get these back, through, but it is being a little bit difficult. I'm going to go ahead and prop it up on these screwdrivers on the left-hand side now, I think, and see if we can't. Come on, there we go. Hold that where it goes. Cool. I'm just making sure that these are sitting flat, so when I put the top board back on, that everything will line up, hopefully. And it looks like we're good there. All the buttons and whatnot are sitting flat again. So let's go ahead and attempt that again. Big deep breath, and careful with the board. Kind of lining up those holes there. I think we got it. I'm going to start screwing this back in super carefully. I'm going to prop it up. Just this one here. Oh, all right. Now, another reason why I wanted to show this, guys, is that, by all practical purposes, this fix doesn't really look like we're doing a whole lot of anything, but it did get rid of the knob jitter on the EMX1. Okay, all right. There we've got that back attached, and I'm confident that I got all of the knobs, the buttons rather, back in the pads and whatnot, back in their right locations. I'm not feeling any resistance or pressure, between the board and those pads as I'm screwing it back together, which I'm sure is a good thing. Checking in with the chat. All right. Thanks for hanging out today, everyone. I appreciate you being here with me. We're going to need to remember that we removed this tiny little ribbon piece down here at the bottom corner. And just to make sure that we don't forget to connect that up again, let's go ahead and do that now. I'm just going to push this little strip of plastic back into the little connector here until it fits in. And then I'm going to slide this back so that it kind of grabs and pinches that. Okay, so that's connected again as well. And we're going to keep screwing all of these little black screws in carefully. Make sure we get them all. Again, if we did see some, discolorations inside there, or if we did see some, the grease leaking out of the knobs, we would have tried to clean that up at this time, being super, super careful not to let any of that grease or leakage, get onto the components or the circuit board. Apparently, people have had some pretty intense experiences opening those knobs up based on what I've read on some of the threads for other people who were trying to fix their knob jitter. but I'm really thankful that we didn't have to worry about that. Okay. Almost. All right. So I've been working really hard, you guys, on the new sound bank for the poly-in tracker, and I've got hundreds of drum loops that I handpicked out of my Electronisounds catalog from the past 20 some odd years to include in that pack. But I've also been recording a lot of beats out of my hardware. I've named the poly-in tracker bank Infinite Inspiration, and I'm basically doing everything I can now to make the product actually live up to that name. And I want to record all of the drum beats that I made in my expansion pack for the Electribe ESX-1. I'd like to record those drum beats out so that I can include those in that poly-in tracker sound bank. And if this works, that's what we're going to be doing for the rest of the stream, is we're going to be recording drum beats out of my expansion pack for the ESX-1 into the Kai MPC Live, which is one of my favorite ways to record things in here. I'm currently over 4,300 samples on the poly-in tracker sound bank, and I just keep adding to it because with a name like Infinite Inspiration, you really need to make sure that it lives up to infinite inspiration, right? All right. Yeah, so I've got hundreds of hardware drum beats already recorded and edited. And now we're going to be adding these, hopefully, so that I can move forward on that project. Okay, so on the upper side of the board here, there's these kind of three areas where these wires are connected on the underside, and they look like they could use a casual cleaning. And I did this exact step on the EMX-1 as well, because all of the threads that I read said look for any kind of corrosion, and if you see any, maybe clean that up with a little Q-tip and a little rubbing alcohol. Of course, we want to be careful, really careful, because we don't want to get this anywhere we don't want it. You know, we don't want to spill rubbing alcohol all over the circuit board, per se. I don't know if this is having any effect on it at all, but, you know, I'm doing the exact same stuff that I did with the EMX-1 that did fix it. Let's do one more. There's a little tiny bit of discoloring down here at the bottom. So let me just kind of go over this the tiniest little bit. All right. Cool. Just set these things aside, I guess, for now. All right, and I'm going to kind of get my head in the shot here and just sort of get really close in here on everything else. Taking a look on the inside, and everything looks really great. Nothing is loose, nothing is corroded. Nothing looks damaged in any way. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with the fix. And what is said to be causing this, a lot of people think that there's some sort of connection, which is like an electrical connect, like a short per se, between the bottom of the circuit board here and the rest of this stuff down here at the bottom. Now, to be honest with you guys, I don't see how any of this stuff here could be touching any of the stuff on the inside or causing a short. And this step, like, really seems almost silly to me. Like, you've got to be kidding me, right? But this is what I was recommended to do. And this is what I did with the EMX-1. And the EMX-1 does no longer have knob jitter at this time. So we're going to go ahead and give this a go. And what I've got is I've got this heavy-duty parchment paper that I purchased from Amazon. If this works and stuff, I'll put a link to the exact paper that I'm using. This is extra strong. It's specific. It's like very thick paper. And I used 3 sheets of this. Okay, we're going to get 3 sheets out. Okay. And this gets a little odd. The whole process here gets a little odd because this feels almost like wax paper. And we need to get it, like we need to cut it to size and we need to get it to stay together. And then we kind of need to tape it over this circuit board here. But the whole, we're going to use some like painter's tape to do that. But of all the tape that I did try, it's kind of awkward because being as though this is like wax paper, tape doesn't really stick to it, if you get my drift. So we're just going to do the best we can. I'm going to turn the air conditioner off because it's kind of blowing just a little bit on this, and I'd like it not to be. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start let's go ahead and see if we can't start sticking some of these pages together as we start doing some cutting to this to size. So I'm just going to take a piece of tape here. This isn't going to stick super great, but we're going to do the best we can. Okay. Going to keep them square if I can, and just try to align this tape along the bottom. You can see it's already not wanting to stick there. I'm going to fold this over and just kind of pinch the tape here. All right. Now, the wax paper is about, I don't know, a 1/4 inch or so, a little bit too wide. So we're going to go ahead and cut a little bit of a strip off to start with. Now again, remember, this is 3 sheets of wax paper that I'm dealing with. Just trying to sort of keep everything together as we go through this process. All right, that looks pretty good. Actually, I think I might have cut too much off there. We're going to start again. I think that might be worth our time to start again and make sure that I do it maybe a little better. Good thing we have lots of wax paper. Not wax paper, don't get me wrong, parchment paper, for baking. So this can withstand the heat. It's not standard wax paper, okay? All right. Hey, what's happening? We got Constantinos in the chat. We got Flip Mode in the chat. We got Joshua Good in the chat. Hey, I really appreciate you all being here with me. If you've got some, good karma on your side today, send a little my way that this is going to work for us. All right. All right. So we're going to start over with that cutting of the first little bit there. I'm going to go ahead and try to keep these together by putting that piece of tape on the top. It doesn't want to stay. So that's that, that part you'll have to just do the best you can with the tape. All right. There we go. That's better. And this time I'm going to cut less off of the side, quite a bit less. Maybe like just a thin 1/4 inch. Because we want this covering the entire circuit board here when we're done. I'm going to make a mess in here. That's all right. Cool, that's the width I'm looking for. Okay, fantastic. Now, it's a little bit too tall as well. Whoops, I'm bumping the camera. Sorry, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and cut a strip off the bottom, sort of maybe trying to keep these pages together if we can. But like I said, that is quite a difficult thing to do. That's just part of the challenge. Oh, my goodness. Let's see if we can't get that a little better. All right. That tape across. All right, now we're going to tape the other side the same way so we can kind of keep these together if at all possible. Really gently here. Okay, cool. Trying to keep this in the camera so everybody can see what I'm doing because this is a little bit difficult. The tape does not want to stick to the waxy coating on this paper. Okay, but there we go. We've got it sticking just a little bit. All right, and that's all we need for now. So we're going to go ahead and cut a little bit off the bottom. So we're hoping that this is going to fit now. Bear with me, everyone, and thanks for your patience. Okay, get these out of the way. How's the width looking now? The height, I mean. That's looking really good. The only thing is that we've got a little bit to cut out on this corner so that the little white clasp down there at the bottom kind of has a spot on its own. Okay, there we go. You see how we've got now the little corner flat here on the bottom corner because I've cut out a little spot for that. Okay, excuse me, everyone. Let me grab a sip of coffee here. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is we need to cut a little sort of indent out of the paper here at the top for this little section here. So let's see how well we can do that. Let's go ahead and make a cut there. Get this out of the way. And let's make another cut here. Okay, and let's kind of cut down a little bit here. And the same thing on this side. You see how the tape is sort of keeping the paper together for me? If I'm being really gentle, kind of seeing it start to come up there, so I'll push it back down, being careful, you know. Okay, whoops. Here we go. Now I can see just how much we need to remove of this piece here. Looks like right about there I'll do it. Okay. And that's looking pretty good. So you can see that the entire circuit board is covered up here with this oven paper. What we need to do is we need to be able to pick this back up and fold it back over and screw it in. The paper will not stay if we just try to do that. So we're going to casually put some more tape around the paper onto the actual machine itself. Okay. I was a little bit more careful the first time doing this with the EMX1, but since I've already done it once, we're just going to go ahead and sort of push this tape onto here. All right. Being as careful as we can. To take a piece at the top here. Yeah, it's already not wanting to stay on the bottom. So let's see if we can't get a few more of these. I know this looks silly, right? This is, I mean, give me a break. I mean, open your thing up and put wax paper in it. Yeah, that sounds like a fix. Again, sorry, this isn't wax paper. It's oven paper, parchment paper. But this just sounds so silly, right? I mean, this is like almost like an old wives' tale level of like fix it, right? Give me a break, you guys. But it actually worked on the EMX1. And we are really hoping that it's going to work on this today as well. Okay, now we don't necessarily need to get super savage with the tape. We just need to make sure that it stays in place while we fold it over and screw it back in. And then, you know, gravity will do the rest. It's not really going to be moving much while it's inside the unit here. That's probably going to be enough tape. Okay, it's already starting to come up, but we're not really going to worry about that. Before it comes up any further, here we go. I'm going to casually flip this over. Make sure that ribbon controller is tucked in. Okay. Woo! Okay. There we go. We have now opened it up, done some stuff to it. We really didn't do anything to it, is the thing. I didn't have to, you know, undo or mess with any of the knobs, it looked like. Well, you know, we're about to find out. And we've got the paper in there across the whole thing, and it is all, you know, fold it up again. Now, before I worry about screwing it together or anything like that, we can go ahead and we can plug it in and we can test it out. So this is it. We're already at the moment of truth, just like that. We're going to go ahead and plug this in. We're going to go ahead and turn it on. And we're going to see if it is still giving knob jitter. This could be it. It could be just that simple, you guys, because it was just this simple with the EMX1, believe it or not. I've got a friend who took a photo for me of the inside of his, my friend Mark Gardner, and he did the exact same thing with his, and his fixes lasted him 9 years since he did it. No knob jitter. So right off the jump, I'm going to change cameras here. It's not doing anything yet. No jitter. It's staying completely steady. I'm going to tap around the edges of the display here because before that was enough to cause the knob jitter to start. I'm going to press play. It's playing. I don't know if you can see that. The measures are moving here. And look at this, you guys. No knob jitter. It's just staying straight. Let's tap on some stuff. Okay. Let's move some knobs, right? Maybe the knobs that were giving us knob jitter, like this timing knob here and this depth knob here, and one of these knobs over here. Touching those knobs, right? And it goes right back to where it should be, and there's no jitter. Oh, nope, but I touched the knob though, so that's fair enough, yeah. Okay, so if we're in pattern mode, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the overhead cam here. And it looks like we may have been successful with this repair. It may be literally just that simple. Could you imagine having to take both of these Electribes into the shop and pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars? I was quoted pretty much a minimum of $300 for this to repair both units, and no guarantee that they were going to be able to fix the units, but it was going to cost me about $300 out of pocket just to get them into the shop. Now, I don't know about you, but $300 is a lot of money, and that, really got my incentive up to open these up and just at least try to do it myself. And so far, it looks like this has really been a really good way to go. Let's see if we can continue putting this back together. I'm going to leave, actually, we'll turn the power off. And there's a few 4 silver screws that need to be screwed in around the tube area here. So we'll find those screws and we'll get those back in. Oh, this is so amazing. This unit has been out of commission now. Whoops, I'm putting that in the wrong spot. This unit has been out of commission for about 6 months to a year. I was thinking about maybe doing another expansion pack for this box. And I went to, work with it some time ago and found that it had knob jitter. And it's been sitting ever since. And I was, really pleased that the EMX-1 wasn't showing any signs of that. And then when I turned that on to record the beats out of it the other day, sure enough, there it was, the dreaded knob jitter. And suddenly I had 2 boxes sitting here, both out of commission. Super frustrating. All right. Come on. Now, if we had to do some soldering and things like that, or removing of wires and redoing wires, this probably would be above my pay grade. But I figured I could, probably just remove some knobs, pull the faceplate, and put some wax, some parchment paper into something. It just seemed like such a silly idea to me that would, fix this. Because, again, I really don't see anything on the inside that looks like it could be touching that circuit board and causing this sort of problem. Let's go ahead and fire it back up again and see how we're doing before I start screwing the faceplate back in. A Behringer Crave on which the sequencer button does not work at all. Ooh, that's a bummer. Okay, well, I don't see any jitter happening. Before, all I would need to do would be to hit play, and that would be enough to get it started dancing where the knobs were thinking they were being moved. But currently, nothing is, I'm really giving it a hell right now, if you know what I mean, and nothing is happening. So it really looks like we have fixed this unit, and it really looks like I have just saved some, $300 some odd, which is a really, really nice thing, I would say. So we're just going to continue putting this back together. I'm going to leave the power on, I think, from this point on, so that I can just sort of keep an eye on that. And if we get any jitter, I'd like to know right off the jump here. As I'm screwing this together, if we start getting jitter, it might, not be wise to continue putting all the screws back. But it really looks like we got it. I did a video some years ago where I replaced the tubes on both of these particular Electribes that I have, on the blue EMX and also on this red EMX. For old gear, these are pretty much like really usable machines still. Whether you're using the inbuilt sounds, whether you're buying new sound packs, like I have a sound bank for this one that puts all new sounds and all new patterns into the box. These boxes are still really, really fun to use. And for the most part, they're built like a tank. I mean, you've got this big metal plate on the top. I mean, this is a pretty old box already. This is from the 90s, or maybe the really late 90s. Okay, I'm not seeing any jitter at all. So just how amazing is that? I really wish that I would have had the guts to open this up some time ago and not have it just sitting, because, you know, for me, it seems like this fix was really, really easy. A friend online was doing the same procedure, and they put the parchment paper in theirs. They put it back together like we're doing now, and it did not solve their knob jitter. So they opened it up again. They removed that inner board and pulled out those knobs that I showed you with the little clasps on them. They cleaned those out and put it back together, and that seemed to solve their problem. So I think that even with one or two maybe extra steps, this could still be, you know, maybe fixable by the average Joe. Obviously, if there were some other problems on the inside, or if maybe like some of the, you know, knobs were unresponsive, or if some of the pads were unresponsive, what we did there probably isn't going to fix that. But just the knob jitter, this seems to have done it. I also wanted to document this because in case the knob jitter on these units comes back, then we'll be able to document that as well. Okay, so we've got all of the screws back in now. I keep bumping the camera, sorry about that. Let's go ahead and put these knobs back on, shall we? Okay. Put these on, kind of give them a twist as I do, and see how everything reacts to that. Okay, so far so good. I'm not seeing any jitter or any knobs thinking they're moving at all. This is really amazing. Oh my goodness. I really hope that some other people can find this and kind of do the same thing with theirs if they're experiencing some knob jitter, because now I've officially done this to 2 Electribes and both of them seem to be, you know, working, functioning again. And I didn't have to take them into the shop or wait, you know, 2 to 3 months or whatever. And also, I mean, we didn't replace anything. This was one of the things that I was concerned about the idea of taking these into the shop right off the jump. I've done, you know, quite a bit of research online about this problem, and it's a common problem with these older Electribes. So I've read through a lot of the threads about people trying to fix theirs and whatnot. I wouldn't expect, you know, the people at just an average repair shop to have that much time already sort of invested in the understanding of the problem. And I'm not sure that, like, you know, people at a professional repair shop are going to be super keen to just drop some parchment paper with tape inside of your unit, you know what I mean? But we managed to, it's still no knob jitter, so it really looks like we have managed to fix this. However, you know, however long that may last. Which is exactly why what we're going to be doing now is trying to record some of these beats out of here. I made an expansion pack for this ESX-1 box called Adrenalize. It's got all new sounds for the ESX-1 and 64 patterns. I was able to, back in the day, record 6 of these drum beats out before the knob jitter was so much that I wasn't really able to, you know, work with it anymore. So I've got like 58 beats just sitting here that are ready to be recorded out and added to that poly-int tracker sample bank. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and see what we can do. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move this over to the side and bring the Akai MPC Live over into the shot. Okay, now the MPC Live is battery powered, so I can fire it up without even needing to plug it in. I am going to plug it in, however, because I don't want to accidentally run the battery out on the stream, which isn't really likely, however, because the battery on the MPC lasts for quite a few hours. But we're going to go ahead and play it safe and plug it in. Let's rock. Start. Cool. And let's see here. I'm just going to open up a recording session that I've got ready to go. We're going to go in the menu. We're going to go in the sampler. And we're going to turn the monitoring on so that we can hear the audio that is coming out here. We're going to go to pattern 7 in the ESX-1, which is the next pattern that I need to record the drums out. We're going to go ahead and plug in the EMX1 left and right to the input, sampling input of the Akai MPC Live left and right. We can adjust these levels as needed, and I'll probably mess with that as we get going. Now I just need to plug in the MPC Live to the mixer so that we can hear the audio coming through it. And I've got some cables here in which we can do that. Okay, we got left out and right out. Bring the master volume down just in case. And let me see if I can go ahead and get this level set so we can hear it. Okay, we're getting a little level there. More. Okay. Awesome. Now if I start bringing this up on the mixer. Okay, bear with me for a moment while I try to adjust the level that I'm sending out to the stream. Okay. Bringing the volume up on that. How are we doing there, you guys? Is that loud? Is that too loud? Can you hear me talking over the music? Let's pick another one of these patterns and see how the volume on that is. Always get a little nervous adjusting the volume in real time on these streams. How are we doing? Does that sound okay? Can you guys hear me? Ooh, Prophet X or Waldorf Quantum? That's a great question, Flip Mode. I think if I had to choose one of those, it's going to be the Waldorf Quantum all the way, because you've got the ability to import your own samples into that. I don't think the Prophet X has that sort of functionality. Are we coming through? Sounds good. Hey, fantastic. Well, it appears that we've done it, everyone. It appears that we have opened up the Electribe ESX-1 and that we have gotten it working again. I'm not experiencing any knob jitter, and we are going to go ahead and start recording some drum beats out into the Akai MPC Live. I like to record these onto a thumb drive. This is how I do a lot of the recording in here from from hardware to get stuff into my sample packs and whatnot. And what we're going to do is, let's see here, we're just going to start with this pattern here, and we'll need to figure out what I want to do is make sure that we've got only drum sounds. So I'll mute everything else here, except for the drum sounds. Come on. Which one of these has still got a... Where is that? It's not on the stretch part, so we'll turn that back on. Is it this? Is it this? I haven't used this machine in close to a year, so bear with me as it takes me a little bit of time to get reacquainted with how to, you know, turn things on and off and find what I'm looking for. But here we've got it now where we're recording just the beat. And I can just check my level here on the MPC Live. Sort of a nice little flange type of sound coming through on some of these sounds as well. I kind of like that. I definitely think there's a huge difference when you're listening to beats that have been made with a computer in a DAW like Ableton Live, or whether you're listening to beats that have been made with like a hardware box. I think there's a really big and discernible sonic difference between these kind of samples, and this is why I really wanted to be able to include drum beats from my hardware as well as drum beats that are made with software, so that there's just all that much more variety inside of this sample pack, and people will really get, hopefully, that infinite inspiration. Okay. All we need to do here now is press record and get the MPC live recording. Now we'll just press play on the ESX-1 and record a couple of bars of this beat out. Hey Douglas, we just repaired the knob jitter on the Electribe ESX-1. For those of you who might be tuning in a little bit late, we had this open on the desk a little while ago. Looked pretty clean on the inside. And we were able to do the parchment paper fix that seems to have fixed my knob jitter. So currently, we're recording the beats out of the Electribe ESX-1 that I made in my expansion bank, Adrenalize. And I'm including these drum beats in my new sound bank for the Poly-End tracker. So we're going to be labeling this as it's labeled. This is dubbing, so this is, we'll put the tempo first, I think. The tempo here is, this stream is probably going to be a little bit more boring from here on out, because all I'm going to be doing is just recording drum beats out of this box. Okay, so save, and then I'm going to save that over to the Cruiser, which is my smart media plugged into the back here, and we'll keep that in this session. Fantastic. Now all we need to do is move on to the next one. So we've got the next pattern here, and we'll try to get just the drums going so we can record that out. Mute these. Let's see here. I think it's just these two then. Where is that? Nope, it's there. Alright. Cool, so now we've muted everything but just the drums. We just make sure there isn't anything on those. Yeah, those are melodics as well. So here I can, solo just the drums to record out. We'll need to alter that level on the MPC Live. It was a little bit too hot. Alright. I'm getting the beats to hit in the MPC Live at about -3 decibels. Here, we'll go ahead and arm that and record that. We just need to get a couple of bars recorded so that I can, trim those out and make them into usable loops. That tempo was at 118, and that pattern was called So Good, So Good. So what I do is I load these recordings up in my audio editor, which is SoundForge, and I just edit these out so that they start, precisely on that downbeat, and they end precisely at the end of the loop, and then there we go. Okay, so good. Let's do it and save, and we're going to put that on the thumb drive there, and then we'll keep that in the session. Fantastic. And we'll move on to the next one. The next pattern is called Octopi. Let's get a listen here. A nice halftime groove here. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can't. There's a melodic coming through on that pad there. So we mute these keyboard parts here. Fantastic. Now we're down to just drums again. We'll go ahead and adjust the recording level. Get that, pretty close to about -3 decibels. Nice hot level here. There's a crash cymbal on the downbeat. I think that's makes loops a little bit more difficult to use when they have that going through the whole beat. It makes the beat a little bit more difficult to chop up and rearrange as well. So I'll go ahead and mute that crash cymbal on this beat. We'll get into recording, and I'll record a couple of bars of this out. But yes, I did do a stream with the MC707, Douglas. Since they did the updates on it, I'm liking it a lot. Since we're now able to, record directly onto the pads and whatnot, I'm really digging that. And, you know, the reason that I got that, let's see if I can change the cameras here. The reason that I got that MC707 in the beginning was so that I could, you know, it's basically 8 synthesizers or 8 drum machines of your choice. And I basically just got that to use the Roland, you know, presets and whatnot in my live jams, just to have, you know, the access to 8 different synthesizers, you know, or drum machines, but in one box, really. So I've started experimenting and starting to learn a little bit more about how to use the internal sequencer on that. And that's what I was kind of showing on that live stream, was actually using its internal sequencer rather than sequencing it with external gear. So this is 140, and the drum beat is called Octopi. I really like the MPC Live. This is a great box to use, as well as the Force. But for like just, you know, general recording in here, it's awesome because you can label things super easily as well as you're sampling them. Save that to the thumb drive and keep this in the box. Fantastic. Moving on to the next pattern here. The next pattern is called Dub Diver, and again, we're just recording the drums out. It's just going to be a boring, you know, rest of the stream for however long we go. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to get the ESX-1, you know, functioning, but I figure, you know, as soon as we can get it functioning, better to record these beats out, you know, as soon as possible in case, you know, anything were to go wrong or if the knob jitter starts coming back or whatnot. Let's see here. So this next pattern is called Dub Diver. Cool little dubby pattern here. I really like working with this box too, the ESX-1. I was kind of heartbroken when it started, you know, putting out that knob jitter. I guess that's a really common thing with these boxes, that knob jitter. And I was always really, you know, excited that mine didn't seem to have that. Mute that. Okay, maybe mute these two. Yeah, now we're down to just the drums, so we'll just sort of adjust this level as needed. Probably can't hear over the live stream. YouTube always kind of messes with the audio and compresses it a little bit, but the sounds that are coming out of this, you know, hardware box here, you know, being run through these tubes. I've got aftermarket, really high quality tubes in here that I, you know, swapped out. We've got the tube gain up quite a bit. It's a really nice, warm kind of hardware analog sound that we get from here that we just do not get at all when we're dealing with, like, say, drum beats that are made in a computer using something like Ableton Live. I mean, just a really organic sort of sound that these beats have. Again, I'm sorry, it probably doesn't come across like that on the stream, but that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about recording these beats out, because they're my unique sounds that I've created from scratch and put in here. And they're, you know, beats that I programmed from scratch as well, and they just have this really lovely analog type of feeling to them. 115, and that was what, Dub Diver, I believe it was called. Yeah, Dub Diver. Okay, do it and save to the stick. Cool. And then we'll just keep that in the session. Okay, the next one is called Cruncha. A little too loud there. Bring the volume down. Alright, let's see if we can get rid of these melodics here. Probably just these then. Yep, but there's that crash again, which I prefer not to be there since we're recording these out for drum loops. One of the neat things about the Poly-In tracker is that it has the ability to slice up beats and whatnot. So by having just this huge plethora of drum loops inside of that pack, I think it's really going to make the pack super special for owners of the Poly-In tracker. Alright, let's go ahead and so we got that crash muted. Let's go ahead and get this recording and record a couple of bars of this beat out. Yeah, I love Choreo Electribe, says Fade Man. You got it, right? I mean, you can really do a lot with these. And if I connect both boxes together and get them working together, the EMX1 with the EXX1, you could do a lot of fun stuff that way as well. This one was 120 beats per minute, and the name of that pattern was Cruncha. So we'll label this Cruncha 120. Cool, and we'll save this beat on the card. And we'll keep that in the project. We'll move on to the next beat, which is called Gazpacho. A little bit more level here. You can hear my, dubby influence coming through on a lot of these patterns that we're hearing. I created the patterns not created, but I ordered the patterns from slow to fast. So as we continue recording out more beats from the session, we're going to continue, picking up the tempo as we go as well. See if we can get rid of that crash, get rid of that melodic sound, get rid of that melodic sound, get rid of that melodic sound. So bass here. Number 5. All right. Now the old school effect. Oh, there's still a crash coming through. There it is. Let's get rid of that. Oh, I brought all the other parts back by doing so. All right. We'll get rid of those. So that we're just down with the drums. All right, cool. There we go. And I think I have too much level again. No, we're okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and get this recording. I like how we're getting the effects baked in, is what I was saying. Like some of this old reverb has a really, I don't know, its own sort of vibe to it. And you're really getting that sort of baked in with some of these low tempo dubby beats. Having that baked in can be really awesome. Sometimes so that you can, save having to, use the reverb inside of the box that you're working with, which again, in this case, these samples are going to be specifically for the poly-end tracker bank that I'm working on. And so being able to chop those up, I think will be really, really handy. Gazpacho. Okay. Save. Saving that to the card there, and we'll keep that in the project. I'm going to check in with the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Douglas says, have I ever used the Novation Summit? I haven't, actually, but everyone that I know who's got one says that they absolutely love it. I used to have a Novation Supernova, too, way back in the day. Amazing synthesizer. Currently, I've got a Novation KS rack here that I'm still using sometimes. I've got the OG circuit. I've got the new Novation circuit tracks as well. They make fantastic sounds, and I think that we can even start importing our own wavetables into the Peak now. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm about 99% sure that we can, which really is certainly add to the kind of sonic possibilities that we can do with that. Looks like a pretty solid synthesizer to me. All right, the next pattern is called Build Me Up. Let's get rid of some of these melodic elements. Where are these melodic elements? There's one. There's another one, mute. There's another one, mute. And mute. Cool. Oh, we're still getting one coming through. It's here. Yeah, here. We'll mute that. Okay, and change the recording level. That sounds pretty good. All right, we're going to go ahead and get recording. Whoops, I hit stop, and we'll go ahead and discard that bad recording and start again. There we go, and just get a couple of bars of this beat recorded out. Hey, thanks very much, Constantine. What iPhone model do I have? I have an iPhone 8 Plus. And basically, let me get this saved real fast. This is 120 BPM, 120. And this was called, what, Build Me Up? Right, okay, Build Me Up. Okay, let me just make sure whoops, I'm going to save that first and save it here. And then keep. Okay, so for the overhead cam, the one that we've got up here, it's a Logitech Brio webcam, which basically sort of looks like this here. It's just a little, bar, and then what I'm using currently in my hand here, this is an iPhone 8 Plus, but it's got an extra lens on it, which I take off, and then suddenly we have a whole lot less room. This lens is the Superfish lens from Moment, and it is pretty much the look of my entire channel, this lens right here. If I screw this back into you have to have a special case on your phone to mount these, and I screwed that back in, and then we get, you know, quite a bit more room in the shot per se. So this over here is an iPhone 8 Plus. This is my wife's iPhone, and then over here, the one that I'm talking to is also an iPhone 8 Plus. And I've got another Moment lens attached to this one. This is just the wide angle, so it's not quite as big as the Superfish, but if I remove that, then I'm kind of like right in your face, you know what I mean? So to get that distance, because like for instance, I'm touching the phone now, it's only that far away from me, and I'm still able to get this wide of a shot, for instance. These Moment lenses are fantastic. The way that I'm getting to use these iPhones as webcams is I'm using two separate apps, okay? I'm using an app called Epoch Cam on one of these phones, and that is able to either USB to the Mac or Wi-Fi to the Mac, and allows me to use the iPhone as a webcam inside of OBS, which is the streaming software that we're using to stream this out with. And then I'm using a separate app on the other iPhone, because you can't use the same app with two iPhones. It won't discern which camera you have. So I'm using Epoch Cam on one of the phones and another app called iRuin Webcam, and both of those will allow me to send the images from the iPhones to the OBS software. And then over here, I've just got the keyboard for the Mac just sitting over here, and I'm able to, you know, I have the cameras on buttons over here, so I can press button Z and get, you know, the main cam. I can press button X and get the cam that I'm talking to, and I can press button C and change to the cam in my hand. Doing it that way. I used to stream with just one iPhone and the YouTube app on the iPhone, but that limits your stream to a lower resolution than what we're able to do this way. It also limits the audio quality to like mono audio, I believe, whereas we should be in stereo now as well, doing it this way with OBS. So it's a Logitech Brio and two iPhone 8 Plus phones, but using those lenses from Moment. I can't stress that enough. Without the lenses, you know, the phones, they don't get much depth of field at all. We're not really making music today, Zaris. We're just recording beats out of this box. We repaired the knob jitter on this box in the first part of the stream, and the reason that I really need this box functioning again is I'm recording drum beats from my expansion pack out of it, just the beats part, so that I can include those drum beats in a sound bank that I'm making for the Poly End Tracker box. So here we go with the next pattern. This is called Kickback. Alright, let's see if we can't start muting the melodic elements here. And there's one there, so we'll mute that. Let's mute that crash again. Let's see if we got that. Yeah, we're down to just the beat here. Nope, we have one more melodic song coming through. Not sure which one that is. Let's find out. Is it one of those? Yeah, cool. Okay, so now we're down to just the beat here. I'm going to set the level on the MPC Live. Fantastic. We're going to get this recording and just get a couple bars of this drum beat recorded. Hey, whatever it takes, Jamie. That's cool that you can get stereo using Streamlabs. Right on. That's awesome. Okay, so we got that recorded. This is at 115 beats per minute. And this one was called Kickback. So kick back. And we'll save this on the card. And we'll keep that in this session. We'll go to the next pattern, pattern 15. This one is called Wonka Lux. I'm going to go ahead and try to start muting out these melodics. And we're left with just this really nice, chilled dub beat with a monster kick drum. Let me see if I can find that crash. Get rid of that as well. Where's that coming through? There it is. Let's get rid of that crash. So we're down to just this beat here. Okay, fantastic. We'll go ahead and get this recording and get a couple of bars of this beat. Alright, and let's see here. This was at a tempo of 112, and this is called Wonka Lux. Again, if you were here with us at the beginning of the stream, this was a box that I was unable to use until we were able to do the parchment paper fix on it, which seems to be working just fine. As you can see, we haven't had any knob jitter issues at all since we put it back together. So how lucky is that? Neither one of my Electribes needed to go to the shop after all, and I ended up being able to fix them myself, which is you know, pretty an odd thing for me because I'm really not a fix-it guy. But because it didn't require any soldering, you know, I think pretty much anybody could achieve this. You know, if the problem is the same as this one here, there's a melodic. That's a melodic. Smooth these. Where's the rest of those sounds? Okay, I think we got all the melodics out, and we're left with this sort of, whoops, too much level there. Left with this really reverby, chilled beat. I think we're gonna leave all that reverb in there. Okay, we'll go ahead and give that a second to let the tail drift off. It's quite a bit of delay tail on that particular beat, so we'll need to give that time to trail off. We can see it here still coming through on the recording device. So we absolutely want to take the time to get that down to a nice... Boy, that is a long delay tail. Again, I was, explaining earlier about some of the things that I really like about these old boxes. And some of the effects in these boxes are still really fun and usable. In fact, both the EMX-1 and the ESX-1 have a decimator effect that I think is really, really unique and awesome to use on these old units. Okay, let's record that beat out, shall we? And that's all we need. All right. This one is at a tempo of 110. So that's 110. And that beat was called Dank Meme. For those of you who might be just joining us, these are beats that we're recording out from my expansion bank for the ESX-1 called Adrenalize. So these are my own sounds. And they are my own beats, which is why I'm able to include them in, future sample packs and whatnot, because they're my sounds originally in here and my programming. This beat is called In the Box. Let's see if we can't, get this going. Let's get rid of these melodics. See if we can find where the other ones are coming from. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and tame the reverb on this particular beat here. It's pretty dramatic, a lot of reverb. We're gonna make this beat dry, because I think it sounds really nice, clean, and it's a little bit more sort of up-tempo than what we've been recording out so far. So to get some of that reverb off, I think will benefit the actual finished drum loop that comes out of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5. Yes, this is very similar to the workflow in GR16, Groove Rider 16. In fact, that workflow is based on the Electribe 2, which is the model that came after these big metal ones. I actually prefer, hands down, working with these metal ones over the Electribe 2. One of the limitations in the Electribe 2 is that the patterns are fixed, are limited to 4-bar patterns, which is kind of a serious bummer in that these boxes will allow us to create 8-bar patterns. So I feel like with that, next series up with the Electribe, they kind of limited the units really as far as what they can actually do. And I really prefer, being able to work with a 8-bar, pattern. Let's see here. This is a tempo of 80 beats per minute, which means it's probably really kicking out at 160. That beat was pretty quick there. And the pattern is called In the Box. In the Box. Okay, box, and do it. And let's see, save. We're saving that to the card, and then we're keeping that in the project. The next beat up is called Skizzle, and it sounds like this. See if we can get rid of these melodics. Might be just that simple. Yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and record this out. We'll get the MPC recording. Get a couple of bars of this one. Okay. That's at 120. 120. Whoops. 120. Whoops. 120. And that is called Skizzle. So, Skizzle. Whoops. Do it and save. Cool. Keep that in the project. All right, let's go to the next one, which is called Smooth. That is smooth. All right. One of the bummers, when I just started experiencing the knob jitter on the ESX-1 was it sort of, prevented me from being able to use this to create jams and stuff, live jams and fun things from all of these patterns that I've got inside of this box, which I would love to be able to use some of these as like live jam starters and whatnot. And now that the knob jitter seems to have gone away, I can start maybe getting this back into the rotation a bit more, which is awesome. Let's mute these. See where else we got melodics here. Melodics there. Melodics there. Melodics there. Alright. Now we're down to just the drums. That is a really cool beat. Kind of got that underneath the beat percussion happening here. I'm going to be quiet and let you listen to that real quick. Boy, that is fat and funky. I really like that one. To get this recording, get a couple bars of this. All right, let's go ahead and label that one. That one is 112 beats per minute. And the pattern was called Smooth with a bunch of O's. Cool. Save that onto the card and keep that in the project. So what I'm doing when I'm recording, I'm saving the files onto the card so that I can, pull that out and take them over to my editor later. But I'm also just saving them inside, just keeping them inside of the project that's going in the MPC Live as well. Until I actually pull the card out and get the beats off of it, there's no reason to not keep them inside of the machine at this time, if you get what I'm saying. The next beat is called Emotions. Turn that down a little. Cool. Let's find these melodic elements, shall we? There's one. Let's get rid of that crash for the drum beat recording here as well. There's one. Okay. Get a little bit more level on that. Try to figure out where that little conga is coming from. Yeah, it's coming from there. Let's take that out, because for the drum loop purposes, I think probably not having that extra percussion will be better for this one. Let's go ahead and hit record and get a few bars of this. Hey, thanks, Fade Man. I think having these beats recorded out for the sound bank and the poly-in tracker is going to make creating music on that super, super fun. Let's go here and label this. This one is 138 BPM, and this one was called Motions. Whoops, Motions. If you're just joining us today, we were able to fix the knob jitter on the Electribe ESX-1, and currently I am recording drum beats out of it from my Adrenalize sound bank. We're muting all the melodics and whatnot and just recording the beats out so that they can be used to make other pieces of music in a different box, you know. Start by finding these melodics here. There's some. Let's get rid of those. These basses are just the default sounds that it loads to a pad, which is why I'm not worrying about muting those. They're not actually being played in the pattern. Is that enough? Turn the volume on that down just a little bit. I'm trying to record at about the average of -3 decibels on these beats, give or take. This one's got a pretty boofy kick drum and quite a bit of reverb. Let's turn that reverb down a little bit on this loop so that the loop itself is a little bit cleaner. Cool, right on. Let's record that out. The trimming of these, Douglas, is what gets sort of the down. You know, when I do the editing, when I edit these out of the recordings, I'll edit them out to where I'm using SoundForge on the PC as my main audio editor, and I just, you know, get into where it's the very, very beginning of the downbeat, you know, and edit there. So when you're loading them, it'll just start on the downbeat. But the bonus about the poly-in tracker is that it has a beat slicer, or, you know, sample slicer built in, so it's really conducive to kind of like slicing up and rearranging drum loops. So I'm really making sure that there's, you know, just an infinite amount of tempos and styles. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of drum loops. I've pulled out almost 300 drum loops, specifically handpicked from like my catalog of sample libraries that I've been making since like 1994, and I really wanted to have some beats in that bank that were recorded with hardware, not just beats that have been made with computers over the years and whatnot, because the sonic differences is really dramatic there, I think, actually. Okay, so we got this beat here, and this is 128 beats per minute. And this one is called Korgasms, as in Korg. Asms. Okay, cool. And let's save that on the card. Save. And we'll keep that in the project. Moving over to the next one, which is 22. This one's called Funk Dunk. All right. That's cool. Let's find these melodics, shall we? We'll mute the keyboard parts. And then there's one. Mute that crash, shall we? I really like to take the crash out when I'm, you know, recording these for drum beats, like I said earlier. That way, if somebody's chopping up the beat, excuse me, while that, you know, plays out, that way, if someone's chopping up the beat to sort of reuse it, they don't have that, you know, crash symbol that's going, consistently through all of the sounds. I find that it can really, you know, be a negative when you're using these, you know, when you're making these specifically for other people to chop up and use. Make sure we get a nice loud level on this. All right, there we go. Gonna let that sample finish playing through there. Okay, and let's get this in record mode and get a couple of bars of that beat. Cool. It's going to play that, you know, loop one more time there. Let's go ahead and save this one. We're at a tempo here of, sorry about that, a tempo here of 132, and that pattern was called Funk Donk. Okay, save, and we'll just keep that in the project. We'll move over to the next one, which is called Deep Deep. All right, a little too loud there. Are we coming through loud and clear? Is the audio loud enough? Am I too loud or anything? Just let me know. And mute the keyboard parts there. Sorry about those big risers playing out real loud, guys. Get rid of that crash. Yeah, now we're down to just the drums here. I can set that level. Okay, we're going to let that play out just real quick. We've got a question. These melodic synth sounds are coming from the Electribe, or have you sampled these from somewhere? These are all my original sounds that I made from scratch, that I've loaded into the Electribe ESX-1 and made a complete refill bank for it. My sound bank for the Electribe ESX-1 is called Adrenalize, and it has hundreds of new, drum sounds, basses, all new sounds. It removes all of the included factory sounds. It removes those from the machine and puts all new sounds in there. And then I've created 64 patterns using just my own sounds that are in here as well. And that's an expansion bank that I've been selling for the Korg ESX-1. So all of the sounds that we're hearing right now are coming out of the ESX-1. And I'm just muting the melodic parts that are coming out so we can record just the drums to include in another sample bank. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, cool. Maybe a little bit hotter level. I'm trying to get, to record these at about a level of -3 decibels into the MPC Live. It's a nice hot level there. All of my sample packs, and we'll let the riser play out, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and label this one. This is Deep, Deep. All of my sample packs and sound banks are available on my website, Electronisounds.com. And I have banks for the Electribe ESX-1. I have banks for the Electribe 2. I have banks for the Digitact. I have banks for the Electron model samples. I have quite a few regular sample packs that are just standard samples that aren't necessarily formatted for a particular box. I've been a sample maker and a sound designer since 1994. So I've got quite a few sample banks made in that time. A lot of my older banks I've removed from selling on my website, as the sounds are a little bit dated. I've been at this since like the 90s, but there's still like a huge variety of sounds and samples there. I also have a page of free downloads on my website, Electronisounds as well, and a page of like sounds for virtual instruments as well. Yeah, I've been at this for as long as I can remember, so lots and lots of sounds on the website, and lots more coming. The Poly-In Tracker Bank will be coming soon, hopefully, and also I'm planning on doing a whole bunch of drum refills for the Novation circuit tracks as well, the new Novation circuit. Because it has the ability to load multiple drum packs right from its internal card. Super convenient there. Let's go over to the next pattern here. This one's called Lifeboat. See if we can find these melodics. I'll mute the keyboard parts. There's some melodics there. Just get rid of that crash. Okay. Never mind that riser that's going through. Some of those are really long, which is why it takes them a little bit of time to play out. Hey, enjoy your dinner, Wall. Oh, hey, thanks for the bundle purchase, Andy. I hope you get some, some fresh inspiration from the new sounds. I put so much work into those model sound banks. I literally kind of got into a swing and a groove while I was working with that box. There was originally maybe an intention of like creating 6 or 7 banks, but I think I went like all the way up to 9 because I just kind of got in the groove and was just sort of making sounds for that box. I really like the Electron model samples. I think it's it's, quite possibly the coolest box you can get for the money, and definitely an awesome way to get in the door of the Electron world and get into some of their sequencing and parameter locking and working with samples and whatnot. I hope you get some fresh inspiration from those sounds. Thanks for the purchase. Right on. Okay. All right, so we're down to just the drums here. We'll go ahead and get the MPC live recording. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I never worked with an Amiga myself, Fade Man, but I absolutely have friends who did. Stop that there. My first experience with let that riser get done there. My first experience with making music was way back in like 1987, and I was originally using a Roland S50 sampler, which is one of the first samplers that was commercially available. It only recorded, its limitation was 8-bit mono sounds. It was really terrible sounding, and it didn't have a sequencer. I was working in a like a duo electronica project with a friend, and we were sequencing the sounds from the S50 using a Roland MC505 drum machine to get those sounds to sequence back and play out. It was a really interesting time. It's one of the reasons that started me down the road of sound design, actually, because back in those days, everything was really, really expensive, and if you wanted to have like a nice pad sound to play or whatnot, I mean, you had to have that sort of $3,000 synthesizer that wasn't really super readily available in like 1987, if you know what I mean. Alrighty, here we got that one. Let's move on to the next one, which is called Rich Folk. Alright, that must be classy. See if we can't get rid of these melodics. Let's mute these and see if we can't find some more. Again, these bass sounds are just the default sound that it puts on the empty pads, so when I hear those, I don't need to worry about muting them because they're not actually playing. Where is that sound coming from? It's here. Cool. Oh, all these sounds, all these patterns rather, have these, as you can hear, these big long riser sounds that kind of play out, but they're like an 8-bar sound. So when I press stop, it still kind of finishes playing that one shot. I think we got a good level on that. Let's get that beat. Little bit of vinyl noise or tape hiss in the background on this one. I love stuff like that, especially when coming out of these older analog-y sounding boxes. That one was 115 beats per minute. Sorry about all these risers. They sound fantastic in the mix, Let's see here. Rich Folk. That's classy. All right, we'll save that one, and we'll keep this in our session. The next one is called Opulent. Ooh, that's classy too. Oh, I had so much fun putting these patterns together. I mean, it's a really big challenge, when, you're taking only sounds that you've created and, really deciding what needs to be inside a box you've got. Maybe I can't remember exactly, but it was somewhere between 250 and 350 sounds or something that I was able to kind of squeeze into this box, and you have to pick how many basses am I going to use, how many kick drums, how much, variety am I going to include in these sounds. And then, I spent the time programming, 64 original, patterns or song starter ideas using my sounds only in this box. This is really a serious, passionate project that I spent a lot of time on. All right, let's mute these. There's another one. All right, let's get a nice level on that. All right, let's get this box recording. Let that delay tail get all the way quiet again. Cool. Oh, wait a minute. I still got a bass coming through. I think it's that pad there. Let's find out. We'll let the delay go back to 0 again and try again. Yeah, cool. Just drums. Okay, that one was at 134 BPM, and that pattern was called Opulent. Whoops, Opulent. Lent. There we go, and saving it to the card, and keeping that in the session. The next pattern is called Gold Tip. If checking in with the chat here again. Oh, thanks very much, Andy. Andy says that my banks are incredible value for the money. I really appreciate that, Andy. I spend so much time on these. If I was playing live at a festival, which boxes would I use? That's a great question, Douglas. I think it depends specifically on what the kind of music would be. There's I'm certainly not short for options here. And that's sort of like I don't really have a fixed workflow per se. I kind of approach every single project as a different thing, just kind of to keep myself interested. I mean, I've been at this for so long that I really sort of need that extra little bit of variety. But these days I've been really enjoying, working with the MC707 just because of the fact that you've got, a really versatile box there that you can have, either drum machines or synthesizers, and you can sample into it now. So the MC707, like paired up with something else, might be a really great choice, especially because we have like the faders on that, so we can really bring the volumes of the tracks in and out quickly. One of the things that I like to do if I'm using like multiple boxes is to have like see if I can switch the camera here, is to have like a DJ mixer so that I'm not really able to, like over here, so that I can put the channels, the individual instruments on faders as well. Any way that I can sort of get like more ways to interact with the volumes of the tracks is good. So if I was using individual boxes, I would definitely have to include some sort of like a mixer like this. So if you're using something like the MC707 or the TR8 or the TR8S that have those built-in faders, that can be a really nice thing for playing live as well. I also really like to use stuff like the Digitac because I really like getting in there and programming like intricate sequences and whatnot. So a box like the Digitac may be paired up with something like the MC707 where I've got those faders on one hand, but really intricate programming on the other box. That might be a fun combination. It really just sort of depends on on how I'm feeling, I guess, and what the end goal is specifically for that project. It's been a busy week in here this week. I just finished another set on the Euro rack. You can see it's pretty, full of cable spaghetti right now. I spent this week putting together a set for Southern California Synth Society, which will be on a show that they're putting out next month. And it was just the Euro rack. I think I had the Akai MPC Live so that I could tap samples, vocal samples per se. I really like having at least one box in the session for a live session that I can interact with and play back my vocal samples in real time. So I think the MPC Live is a really great addition for that as well. Maybe a little bit overkill, because you can certainly get, other sounds in those other boxes as well. But to have a dedicated box with my vocal samples on it is always a really great thing for live jamming specifically. 707 with circuit tracks would be like, you'd be unstoppably powerful with a combination like that. Absolutely. Because you've got scenes that you can do in the MC707, meaning, at the touch of one button, you can have a lot of things change. And you've also got a couple of different ways that we can approach scenes now in the new Novation circuit tracks as well. So you could, change the scenes on both of those boxes simultaneously and get lots of really dramatic and pre-programmed pattern changes happening. Absolutely. Really powerful combination that would be, I think. All right, let's see if we can get this beat recorded out. This one's called Gold Tip. It's a little bit louder than some of those last patterns. I'm going to bring the volume down a little bit and let's start trying to mute these melodics, shall we? There's one. Is that all of them? Sure is. Let's get a little bit more volume on this. Again, I'm trying to record these at about -3 decibels, so a nice hot level. Typically, I will normalize the samples after I'm done editing them. If they're samples that, can benefit from that. Drum loops absolutely can benefit from something like that. So you get the maximum amount of volume from the original sound. And that way you don't have to turn the volume up in your machine the way as much as if you would if the volume on the drum loop was low. Let's go ahead and get this recorded. Cool. And that one is at 126 beats per minute. And that was called Gold Tip. Gold Tip. Okay. Do it and save to the card and keep that in the session. Okay, for those of you who might be just joining us, we were able to fix the knob jitter on the ESX-1 today, and I'm just recording some drum beats out of my expansion sound bank that I made for it, recording some of those beats out into the Akai MPC Live today. We've got Douglas asking another question. Am I eager to return to in-person shows, or do I like streaming? Streaming, yeah. To be honest with you, I'm kind of a homebody. I'm kind of a really boring person in general, to be honest with you. I'm not really a guy who leaves the house and goes out to clubs and does that kind of stuff. My back has seen better days, and I have a pretty serious case of tinnitus these days, and I'm pretty much clubbed out, I think. I really am enjoying just doing these live streams and whatnot. In fact, I actually started my YouTube channel as a way to kind of do other things as opposed to just being, in front of the speakers all the time, as it, kind of does affect my tinnitus. My tinnitus is getting louder all the time, and my back is getting a little bit more, screwy all the time. I know I jump around in here a lot, and in my live videos I look like I'm a super young, healthy dude, but I'm really 48 with a bad back and tinnitus. Is really the reality for me. So yeah, I'm probably not going to be doing a lot of playing out as things open up again. Probably just doing, stuff for the most part in here. It's a lot more comfortable, and I don't have to lug anything around. And plus, because I like to change my setup so much, it really makes it easy to just kind of grab whatever I want in here and not have to worry about, thinking, can I take this out, this setup to different places. Okay, let's move forward, shall we? We got the next beat. It's called Swanky. Get a little more level on this and try to remove some of these melodics. There's one. And at the end of the day, I would say prefer sample creation and making sound packs and whatnot to making music. I spend most of my time in here, working on this type of stuff, on sound banks and sound design. I mean, I know a lot of people would love it for me to say, make music because it'll make you money and you can make a living making music. But I don't really find that to be the case so much in my experience. I make a living as a sound designer. My videos where I'm teaching things and doing tutorials get a lot more views, for example, than a video where I'm just playing back a track. The interest these days is in people trying to learn this stuff for themselves and not necessarily just tuning in and, hey, I'm about the music. It's really about the information more than it is the music these days, because let's be frank, we're probably everyone in the chat makes their own tracks. Probably everyone in the chat has friends that make, their own tracks, as well as, all of the stuff that's just kind of out there already. So these days, for me personally, my joy is definitely in the teaching and in the sharing, Absolutely. Okay. Do we get the... Yeah, we got all the melodics out of this one. Let's go ahead and record a couple bars of this, shall we? Okay, and that one was called Swanky. It's 120 and 120. Yeah, it takes a lot of time and energy to make these these packs. I mean, for instance, the beats that we're recording out now, it seems like, we're going through a pretty straightforward and fast thing. Hey, it's just recording these beats out. But the reality is that I had to make all of the sounds that we're hearing, all of these sounds that are coming out of the ESX-1 are sounds that I've made from scratch. That that part alone, trying to make hundreds and hundreds of sounds from scratch, that part takes a lot of time. And then the configuring and getting the sounds into these boxes, and then sitting here for days on end just actually making the patterns and whatnot to be able to have a session like this where we can finally record some drum beats. Obviously this wasn't the purpose of me making this expansion bank, but definitely something that we can get out of it after the fact for another bank. Okay, this next one is called High Heel. A little loud there. Kind of like a deep house pattern here. Let's get rid of some of these melodics, shall we? There's one. Let's get rid of that crash. Alright, I think we got him. Get a little bit of a level check here. Alright, nice hot level there. Good deal. Get to MPC recording and get a couple bars of this beat. Yes, there is a dog over there in the corner. That's my little buddy Opie. He's my studio buddy. Okay, and that one was at 124 BPM. 124 BPM. And let's see here. That pattern was high heel. High heel. 2020 was actually a pretty brutal year for my household. Let's see, save. We used to have 4 small dogs. Now we have 1 small dog. We had a mom dog who had a litter of puppies, and we kept 3 of those puppies. So they were all the same age, So we my wife and I sort of had an idea in the back of our minds that, someday it was going to be pretty dramatic as they all reached, old age kind of at the same time. In 2020, just old age set in and it took 3 of our 4. It was peaceful. I mean, it was I'm not trying to think of the word, as natural and, as natural and kind as it could have been, time. But yeah, now it's just me and Opie. He's the studio buddy. He definitely misses his brothers and sister. But yeah, he's really, really old now, and he just likes to sleep a lot as well. But he hangs in here with me all the time. Okay, let's make sure we get that one saved, and let's keep that in the project. And we'll move to the next beat, which is called Sassy Boy. A little more level on that one. And start muting some of these melodics. Oh, that's simple. Nope, still more. Is it this one? Yeah. I think I maybe want to pull a little bit of the reverb off of this beat. Yeah. Cool. Let's go ahead and hit record. And get a couple bars of this one. All right. Been streaming for almost 2 hours now. I'm going to keep recording beats out of this box while I've got some energy today, because I really need to get these recorded out so that I can move forward with this project. This takes quite a bit of time, and I'll need to go back and edit all of these beats out still after they've been recorded. This one was called Sassy Boy. All right, Sassy Boy. Do it and save. Save that one to the card and keep that in the project. Move on to the next one, which is called Trust No One. Alright. Start muting some of these melodic parts. There's one. There's another one. I think we got them. Yep, down to just a beat there. Just that input level a little bit on the MPC. Yeah, and we do have some cats. We actually have 3 cats as well, and we did have a new friend show up this year. We've got a cat who showed up with a problem with his eye, so we've got a one-eyed cat now as well. him and Opie kind of been finding their relationship out just a little bit. And that's kind of been interesting to watch as well. All right, let's go ahead and record this beat out. Get this recording and grab a couple of bars of this. How much does it drive you crazy with that knob on the back of the Live? Not at all, actually. It's just something that's sort of part of my workflow. It's just adjusting the input level per beat. It's only just one knob. On the Force, we have two, left and right, which is a little bit more problematic, but it's also convenient to have individual control over the left and right. So yeah, actually, I don't find the knob on the back of this to be, annoying or frustrating in any way. It's just part of what I do. Because I've been doing this for so long, and I've actually been using the MPC Live like this to record into ever since I've had it as well. I really think it's great for just recording into really fast, and I can label the files with this, keyboard and whatnot, so I don't have to relabel stuff later, which I find is really, really convenient. Again, keep. Let's go to the next one, which is called Loudest. So I'm guessing we'll turn the volume down a little. Go ahead and start muting out some of these melodics. That's a crash. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Forget it. That's tough. Boom, boom, boom. See, if I had that here, if I can change cameras to the zoom camera, maybe. I'd love to be able to, oh, come on there. Oh, there we go. I'd love to be able to have individual control here over those channels. Can you guys see how we're getting a tiny little bit of, like, the right channel is hotter than the left channel there? I'd love to even those out, but being as how it's just a one knob on the back adjusting our input level, I'm not really able to do that. So that's something that I'll need to do, in post when I'm editing these beats as well. Just another little step. We'll arm this for recording. Oh, absolutely. Get that MPC-1 rockin', Fade Man. Totally. Okay, let's see here. We'll go ahead and stop this one here. Okay, and the tempo on that one was 107, and that pattern was called Loudest. So I'll just renable this one Loudest, and we'll save this onto the stick, and we'll keep it in the project. Moving on to the next beat, which is beat 32. This one's called Formento, because there's a lot of Formant synthesis happening here with those vocal sounds. Cool. Let's get rid of those keyboard parts and find the rest. There's one. Alright. Get this volume up nice and loud there. Ooh, that's a nice beat. I like the groove on that one. Let's get that recording. 2, 3, 4, 2. Well, I'm really glad to hear that, Fade Man. That's pretty much what I consider my job with this channel, is I really want to just inspire other people to find the fun in creating their own sounds, their own grooves, their own patterns inside of whatever it is that you're using. I have a lot of different tools in here because I'm a sound designer for a living, but this is really not the cost of entry to this sort of a thing. You don't need a room full of gear like this to have a good time and create stuff. I have almost 60 videos, in fact, that focus on just using Beatmaker 3 with an iPad only, in fact, to make music, and some other iPad apps as well. Whatever you've got, if it's one box, if it's 10 boxes, my goal is just to kind of get, people fired up. I like to get people new sounds as well, because often I find that new sounds equals new inspiration, fresh inspiration to get going. It takes a lot of time to write music. People spend, weeks or even months sometime on like one track. And when you finish that track, you know exactly how much time it took you to put that together. And a lot of times that can kind of stop people from, moving on to the next track or finishing more tracks or getting involved in more new projects. And I just want to keep people fired up, and keep, people's passions for making music super high, because that's what I'm about. And I want other people to be about that as well, you know. Okay, so that one was 120 beats per minute, and that one was called For Minto. Okay, and we'll save that one onto the card, and we'll keep that in the session. We're going to move on to the next beat, which apparently is called Holy Snap. A little loud there. Cool. Let's mute these and try to find the rest of the melodics. Get rid of that crash. Alright. Where's that sound coming from? Is it this? Yes. Okay. Now we're down to just the drums. Fantastic. Let's get this recording. I'm really, really excited about this particular bank that I'm working on as well for the Poly End Tracker. A name like Infinite Inspiration really gave me the drive and the passion to just keep, digging through my older sample packs and bringing out the most cool sounds that I could possibly find. I went out and I hired some musicians as well, like a saxophone player and a flute player and a trumpet player to do some custom sounds and samples for that pack. And now I'm just going through and like digging out, beats that I've made inside of like my hardware boxes. I've already recorded for this sound bank for the tracker. I've already recorded like every beat that I've ever made inside of a Digitact. I recorded all the beats that I've made in the Electron model samples. I recorded all the beats out from my Electribe ES2 expansion bank. Tons and tons of hardware beats. I've got some beats already recorded out of the Electribe EMX-1. So yeah, literally hundreds of hardware beats are going to be in this pack for people to chop up and hopefully get inspired by when they're trying to write new music. And I just want to, include everything that I can. I often have a problem of including too much, really just trying to push things to that level. I want people to be able to come back to my, sound banks and sound packs again and again and start different projects with like different genres and stuff. But be able to do that from like the same, pool of sounds and to get inspired by. Okay, so Holy Snap, and let's save that to the card. And then we're going to keep this in the session. I'm going to check in with the chat real fast because I haven't been. Sorry, guys. Let's go to this pattern while I do that. Yes, I agree. You could absolutely do that kind of thing with potentially any synthesizer and a sub-oscillator, Douglas. It's just that, people find those low, bassy, rumbly tones specifically that come out of Moog synthesizers. A lot of people really have a distinct fondness for that exact kind of tone. I don't actually have any Moog synthesizers in here, but you can absolutely drop a third oscillator down on any sense, down by an octave or even 2 octaves, crank that up and get a pretty decent, if the synthesizer has it, a pretty decent sub bass and a rumble that way. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, this one's called High Jinks. Let's get rid of some of these melodics. There's one, or is that, yeah, that's a bass, not a kick. There's a pad. There's a crash. Let's get rid of that. I think we're good. Whoop, there's something coming through. It's this here. Never mind that riser. Or this riser. Again, the risers are one-shot samples, these risers here, and basically once you trigger the sample, it just plays the whole sample, whether you press stop or not. It doesn't obviously sound awkward when you're just running the patterns, but when you press stop in between, that sample still needs to play out, if you get my drift. Let's go ahead and record this beat out. Yeah, I bet, Andy. I don't have any Moog stuff in here at all, but I tell you, the people who've got it, really, really swear by it. And it's just one of those things, where it's just people have a lot of love for the quality, like the tonality, the sonic tonality that comes out of those. I bet your grandmother puts out some amazing sounds, right? That just kind of tickle you in the soul, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Okay. That one was at 168 beats per minute, and that one was called hijinks. So let's go ahead and not record, but label that out, rather, hijinks, do it. Save to the card, save, and we keep that one. We'll move to the next pattern, which is pattern 36, it's called motor dub. Ooh, forget about it. That is sweet. Oh. Okay, and we've got just the beat there. Let's go ahead and get that recorded out. Hey, Opie, what are you doing, buddy? Do you need to go outside? I think so. We'll get you outside. Okay, let's just label this beat real fast. This one was that can't possibly be at 256 beats per minute. Wow, it must be halftime. So halftime on that would be 120 suddenly I can't do the math. 128, is that it? 128? Yeah, it's 128. So halftime would be 120. That's definitely going to be 128. And the motor dub, save, and okay, buddy, I'm going to let your mom get you outside, Opie. Hang on just 1 second. All right, switch to the cameras. Cool deal. Got that beat saved. Give me just 1 second, you guys. Hey, buddy. Oh, hello. Say hello. I need help, please. He can come back in when he's done. All right, we are back, and the next pattern is going to be called Shaw's Bot. Let's see if we can't get these melodics out of here, shall we? There's one. Yeah, Opie's a buddy. He's a studio buddy all the way. He doesn't. A lot of animals, can get freaked out if you're playing loud music or whatnot. So my animals needed to be, pretty special because it gets loud in here often, if you know what I mean. And he doesn't mind the volume at all. So it's super trooper, total trooper in here. Great studio buddy. Get the volume a little louder. For those of you who've been with me for a long part of the stream, you might remember I was waxing philosophical about the decimator effect in the Electribe ESX-1. And this beat here is actually featuring that, kind of crushing up some of these sounds. I don't know if you can hear that. Bring this reverb down. Did you hear that? It's kind of crunchy. That's the decimator effect that I've got here running. Put a little bit of reverb back on this beat. All right, let's go ahead and record that out. Okay, whoops, I'm bumping the camera again. Sorry, everybody. Okay, stop. And the tempo on that one was 120, and that pattern was called Shaw's Bot. Hey, Opie's back. What's up, buddy? Shaw's Bot. And we'll save that to the card, and we will keep that in the session. Okay, hey, welcome back. He pretty much just likes to kind of sleep in his bed, and he doesn't really do a lot these days. He likes to pretty much go outside for just a few minutes only, and then come right back and hang out in the studio with me. I'm pretty much in here, as many hours in the day as I can get away with. This next one is called Shuga. Very smooth. All right, let's mute these melodics and try to find the rest. There are some. Okay, I think we probably got them there. Yeah, let's get this level a little bit louder. In fact, there's a crash there. Let's get that crash out of here. There it is. Yeah, cool. Yeah, the decimator in GR16, the exact same thing, Fade Man. Totally cool. All right. Let's go ahead and get this one recorded. Okay, and that BPM is 142. 142, and that one is Suga. Okay. So for those of you who might be tuning in late, you can see we were able to fix the knob jitter on the Electribe ESX-1. So if you want to see how I was able to accomplish that, this will be available on the replay. Let's just keep that in the project. Okay, and go to the next one, which is number 39. This one's called Dub for Carl, which lets me know right off the jump that it has an underworld influence on it. I like to label things sometimes a little cheeky when they remind me of that techno band Underworld. And that's the members of that band are Rick Smith and Carl Hyde. Carl with a K. So like if I'm making a pattern and it reminds me of Underworld, I might make a reference to Carl in the title of that pattern. They're like a really big influence on me. There we go. Yeah, this has kind of like a vibe from like their second album, which was Second Toughest in the Infants. Kind of has a vibe of those type of tracks, which I really like from the 90s. I was getting a lot of influence from Underworld back in those days for how to make my music and what I wanted, my music to sound like. And some of the techniques that those cats are using are just amazing. Get this nice and loud here. Okay. Record a couple beats of this one. My favorite synth for iPad, that's a great question. I think if I had to pick just one, oh gosh, I keep bumping the camera, sorry everyone. I think I would probably pick Synthmaster 1. I really like the sound quality of that synth. I also really like that it's got a desktop counterpart. As a matter of fact, I did a bank of sounds, preset sounds for Synthmaster 1. I programmed those sounds on the desktop version of the plugin. I was lucky enough to get the company to purchase those for me and get those in the actual synthesizer itself. So now those sounds are available on the iPad version of Synthmaster 1 as well. So that was really awesome. I really like all the presets and all that got great arpeggios in there. And at the end of the day, the sound quality is what I'm really, really about. I also really like synthesizers like the Sunriser synthesizer, kind of an older one that's really low on CPU. Is kind of a fun one to play with as well on the iPad. Okay, this one's called Dark Fall. This is number 40. Let's get rid of these melodics. Okay. More. Get rid of that cymbal. Cool. Tiny little bit more level. Yeah. Ooh, that's nice. A little bit of vinyl noise going on in the background of this one. I like that. Crazy Tack, Jumbo. Yeah, Supachu knows what I'm talking about. Jumbo. I love it. I love it. I'm really a big fan of Underworld. They really, I can't stress this enough. Like, I was kind of like a no 4 on the floor guy, like way back in the early 90s. I was kind of like a breakbeat guy, and that kind of like I could vibe with that rhythm. I've been a drummer since I was 5. I don't have drums anymore, but I'm really big on rhythm, and so that kind of electronic music really spoke to me like from the very beginning. But I started listening to Underworld in the early 90s, and I saw them perform live at a concert in 1996 here just north of Los Angeles. Organic 96. That was the festival that literally changed my life. My mind completely opened up, and I really got on the wavelength of what 4 on the floor music really is. I saw those guys perform that stuff live, and it just moved my soul in such a way that, I'm getting goosebumps now. Just, oh my gosh. And yeah, so I really, I really dedicated my whole life since the 90s to this craft, of electronic music. I definitely would say that, a big part of that was that concert in 1996. Because before that, if it was 4 on the floor, I was kind of tuning out and going the other way. So that was really, really a big moment for me. Definitely. Okay, let's get this going. Okay, got that down to just the drums, and whoops, I think I hit stop too many times there. There we go. Let's get that again. Okay. I've actually, over the years, I've been privileged enough to see Underworld live. I think it was 5 times now. Every time they came to Los Angeles since the 90s, I was really about that. The last time I saw them was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago when they came to the Hollywood Bowl. And that was, in fact, the last live show that I have been to as well. Amazing. They were still amazing. It was just absolutely incredible. I mean, what they can do live is really like the level of professionalism as a live act, I mean, is definitely something that I've always strived to achieve as to what they can do. I mean, it's just two of them, and they really deliver. Okay, so that one was 138 BPM, and that one was called Darkfall. Do it. Save. And we'll keep that one. Okay, now we got number 41. This one's called Hippie Tech. All right. Let's get rid of these melodics, shall we? There's a crash we can get rid of. All right. Cool deal. For those of you who might be tuning in late, we were able to clear the knob jitter off the ESX-1 at the beginning of the stream. And now I'm just recording drum beats out of my expansion pack for the ESX-1 into the Akai MPC Live here. My intention is to use these drum beats that we're recording. I'm going to include these in a sample pack, and a sound bank rather, that I'm making for the poly-end tracker machine. And there's going to be just hundreds and hundreds of drum loops included in that bank. It's currently over 4,300 sounds. I've been working on it for, I don't know, like around a year now, I want to say. Hippie Tech. Okay, do it. Save and save. So, owners of the poly-end tracker, keep your eyes out, because the sound bank that I'm going to be releasing is really going to provide infinite inspiration, I think. Let's get rid of some of these melodics here, as I continue just adding more and more sounds to it. Alright. Let's get rid of that ride. Yeah, better. Okay. Let that delay tail kind of play out there. Get this recording and get a couple of bars of this one recorded. Cool. And that tempo is 132 beats per minute. Whoops. 132. And that pattern was called Arcadiacs. RKDX. Okay. And save it to the card. And keep it in the project's memory. Now we're going to go to the next one, which is called Cat Shark. Ooh, that's got to be interesting. Ooh, all right. Let's get rid of these melodics. There's some. Get rid of that crash. Cool. Ooh, yeah, that's kind of a nice skippy halftime beat. Let's see about this. Let's get rid of a little bit of that delay. And a little bit of this reverb. Let's tame that. Yeah, so that it's a little bit cleaner of a sounding loop for the end user. They might not necessarily want all that baked in reverb and delay. Let's go ahead and record this one. Alright, and that one was at 138 beats per minute. Whoops, 138. This is the TDM of, just recording stuff out. Cat Shark. Sometimes it's fun also to include other things, like maybe to try to run these beats through a box like the Electron analog heat, to get some more, just crunchy distortion on some of these beats. Might be a fun thing to experiment with as well. We'll keep that one and move on to the next one, which is pattern 44. This is called Wax On. Not wax off, mind you, but wax on. Let's go ahead and see if we can. That's a melodic. That's a crash. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Maybe get rid of a little bit of this reverb on this groove as well. Yeah, just kind of tighten up that groove a little bit. All right. Get that recording. I have some specific dub techno packs, Fade Man, on the just the standard sample page of my website. I even have some of the grooves from this box in some regular sample packs. So there's definitely some fun stuff to explore there. There's like a devious dub techno pack, and then I believe I might have two that came out of this one. The Vermilion Sessions packs, I believe, were both from this box here. So have some of these type of grooves and sounds into them, which you can absolutely import into Groove Writer. This one, wax on, and okay, save that to the card and keep the sample. The next one is A45. This is Midnight. All right, let's find the rest of those melodics. There we go. Oop, that's one there. Let's do the same thing here. Let's get rid of a little bit of that reverb so that the end user can have kind of a, more tight beat. I have to find that, when I'm getting these prepared for sample packs and whatnot, to have just tons of baked-in effect might not, benefit the end user a little bit. So sometimes I'll, tame those as needed. Oh yeah, the MPC-1. Any of my sample packs will work really well with the MPC-1. They won't need any sort of conversion on the format of the samples. They'll load right in. The MPC-1 is a great box. 142 on that last one, and that pattern was called Midnight. We've made quite a bit of progress recording these out so far. That was pattern 45, and we started on pattern 7, I believe. So we got quite a few recorded out so far. I have to go through and do all the editing on these, which is, pretty tedious. Often I'll do the recording in sessions so that I don't have, 50 drum loops sitting in the to be edited pile per se, because it's a lot easier to do maybe 10 or 20 than it is to sit down and do 50. But for the purposes of the live stream, and I've got some energy today, I'm just going to keep recording these for the next little while. Let's go ahead and mute these and find the rest of the melodic elements here. That's some. There's a crash. We'll get rid of that. And cool. Boy, it's a filthy kick drum. Let's get rid of some of this reverb on this one as well. Tighten that up a little. And also, if we remove the ride, you can always add more elements over the top of these loops. So sometimes if the loop is super busy, I might remove an element or two. Like here we just removed the ride. It's really easy to just, add another ride on top of an existing drum loop per se. But if it's in there the whole time, you can't really take it away per se. So sometimes it's really awesome to just record it without all of the elements. Okay, and that tempo was at 144, and that beat was called Hitman 13. Hitman, I better look out for Hitman 13. If Hitman's 1 through 12 couldn't do it, you gotta send Hitman 13 to get the job done, you guys. Okay, let's save that pattern there and keep it. Move on to the next one, which is A47, and this one is called Dean Isms. So let's see what this sounds like. Yep, that sounds like a Dean beat, all right. Let's go ahead and mute these melodics. There's some. There's some more. There's some more. All right. Now here we have that same thing as we just ran into, where that ride is going the whole time. I might check to see what it sounds like if I take that out. Yeah, see, it still sounds like a pretty robust beat, and the end user can always just add more sounds, but you can never take anything away. So you got to be careful when you're considering, that these are going to be, formatted for another sample pack is the end goal here. Okay, well, let's see. That one was at 140 beats per minute, 140. We're going to get to the drum and bass stuff pretty soon. That's going to be pretty awesome. Let's see here. Dean isms. Okay, save, and save that to the card. Keep that in the project, and go to the next one, which is called Snake Oil. Oops. Sorry about the camera. Let's go ahead and mute these. And maybe mute that rhyme. Mute that crash. Cool. Yeah. Don't worry about that riser. We'll let it play out. Okay. Hit record and get a couple of bars of this one. No, shouldn't be a problem to import them into GR16, Fade Man. And again, sorry for that riser. That one is at 138 BPM, and that pattern was called Snake Oil. Oil. Okay, and save that to the card and keep it in the session. We are getting to the end of these patterns. I'm going to go ahead and push through to the end of these. We've only got 64. I'm already at A49 here, so about 15 more of these to go, and I will have all of the drum beats now recorded out of the ESX from my expansion pack. Just need to do the editing on them and get them in the Poly-In tracker bank. This one is called Slurpees. Oh, that one's got a cool vibe. All right. I had so much fun putting this particular bank together. Okay. Maybe one more there. Yeah, cool. What if we take the ride out? Yeah, because you can add a lot of stuff over the top of this groove when the ride's not there. So let's remove that ride. Get a couple bars of this recorded. All right, and that one is 140 BPM, 140, and that was called Slurpees. Save it to the card, keep it in this session. Now we're up to number 50. This one's called Boom Tish. Dirty beat. All right, let's mute those. All right. Oh yeah, that is filthy. Super fun. Okay. Let's arm this and get a couple bars of that beat. That's the thing, Andy, when I'm making these patterns, coming up with these names for them takes literally forever sometimes. I've been doing this for so long, and I tell you what, I've labeled so many different sounds and so many different grooves. It gets like absolutely like to the level of silliness, the tedium of it all sometimes. You can only use the same title so many times, you know what I mean? So I'm constantly having to come up with, little silly names for these patterns, or for the names of, drum beats, or the name of a snare drum, for instance. Yeah. This one is called Quackism. As you can see, I'm running out of inspiration here, right? That's a nice groove, though. Ooh. See, I'd love to be able to use these in my live jams. I mean, they're already made. You can add I could add a few more elements and hopefully build these jams pretty quickly, which was my original goal here. But then since the knob jitter started, I haven't been using this. So that's going to change, hopefully. There's a melodic. Let's get that out. Let's get that crash out. Cool. A little too much reverb on this groove, I think. Let's go ahead and get that tamed a little. Just put a little on there so that it has a tiny little bit of, you know, room noise. But, I mean, I'm talking very, very, very subtle. Get a nice level on that beat. Again, I'm trying to record these in at about -3 decibels, a nice hot level. Opie is inspiration. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and that one was at 132 beats per minute, 132, and that one was called Quackism. Quack is, I don't know what mood I was in that day. Let's see here, save that, and keep that. Now we're up to 52. This one's called Kamikaze. Ooh, a little loud. Let's get rid of some of these melodics. That's a melodic. There's a crash. Okay, we'll let that we'll let that riser play out. Yeah, that's really nice on its own. Fantastic. That one is at 136 beats per minute. And that one was Kamikaze. Whoops. Do it and save. Cool. The next one is A53. And it is Grunties, ladies and gentlemen. Oops, I don't want to record that just yet. Whoops, what am I doing? Stop it. Okay, cool. There we go. Get rid of these melodic elements. It's a nice dub groove. Find that crash symbol. There it is. We'll mute that. Kind of a nice little vinyl noise going on the back of this one for kind of an authentic lo-fi dub techno-y kind of vibe. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, I really like that. That vinyl noise adds a lot here. Let's go ahead and record this one out. Record and... Yeah, sometimes I get a little screwy with the lack of inspiration, Fade Man. Absolutely. Alright. And that one was at a tempo of 132 beats per minute. 132. And that pattern is Grunties. Grunties. Save and save. Fantastic. We're almost done recording all of my beats out of this box, you guys. We're up to A54, so about 10 beats left. I'm going to power through these. Ooh, some fun there. All right. Mute that. All right. Yeah, that's a big beat. That's a nice beat. Yeah. Oh, I like that one. Whoops. Arm and record. That kick drum is huge. Okay, we got it. And that one was 124 beats per minute. That pattern was impulses. Whoops, impulses. And we'll save that to the card and keep it in the session. Next one is 55, Side Go. Ooh, yes. Yeah, final vinyl, absolutely. Let's see about muting these. There's one. There we go. Maybe get a little bit more reverb to go away on this one as well. Kind of just tighten that up a little bit. Arm for recording and grab a couple bars of this one. Okay. I know this one isn't normally, as interesting as maybe my streams normally are, because we're not, gosh, I keep bumping the camera for one thing, but we're not actually creating today. You know, I'm just recording this stuff out after we've gotten the box fixed, and I'm normally creating in real time. which is a whole different vibe entirely. So I apologize if this stream is a little bit boring today, but I really need to get this part of my work done. Sigh. Whoops. Sigh. Go. Cool. Okay, and save. Okay, and the next one is A56. This one's called Brooding. Ooh, another kind of dubby, chilled pattern. Right on. Get rid of that melodic. Cool. Oh, yeah. Nice dubby groove with that extra tom there. I think we can bring that, yeah, down in the mix, though. Awesome. And now I think we can tame the reverb on this mix quite a bit and tighten this up a little bit. Nice vinyl, kind of lo-fi. Yeah, that's a nice sounding beat. Turn the volume up just a little bit there. Awesome. Okay. Get this queued up for recording and record this out. Hey, thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. It could have gone very much sideways, this stream, I suppose, had we not been able to fix the ESX-1, or had there, been a lot of, grease inside when I opened it up that we would have needed to try and clean. But we got pretty lucky there, and the fix was, super easy as far as I'm concerned. And, here we are using the box again. And keep that one. We're up to A57, so almost through all of these patterns now. Okay, let's mute these melodics. There's some. Whoop, there's a crash. Let's get rid of that crash. Let's tame the reverb on this one as well. Ooh. Yeah, that's... Wait a minute, we're still getting the bass. Let's get rid of that bass. Yeah, nice little tom playing off the kick drum in this pattern. I like this one. All right. Okay, the tempo on that was 125. And see here, that pattern is called, I can't even pronounce what I wrote here. Let's see here. Must have been a fun day because I labeled the pattern with a DJ, Jakarta. I don't know what that means. I was probably making up words at the time, if you get my drift. Okay. Jakarta. Cool. Save and keep that one in the project. Let's go to the next one. This is A58. This is Lion Army. We're up to the drum and bass stuff now. Finally. Yeah. Hear that old kind of 90s vintage drum and bass sound? With those lush chords. I really like this box for this kind of sound. Absolutely, you guys. Okay. There's a nice chord. We'll mute that. Mute this crash. Cool. Check that level. Come on. I think pull back the reverb a tiny bit. That's much better. Boy, that is a clean beat. Okay, let's get a couple bars of that in here. Okay, that tempo was 174, and that beat was called Lion's Den. Okay, save, get that on the card, and keep it in the project. The next one is A59. This one is called James Jam. Titled this one for a friend of mine who's into drum and bass. There's that chord. Oh, is that a... Yeah, crash. Let's get rid of that. Set that level a little hotter. I think we're going to just try to tame the reverb a tiny bit as well. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. Arm and record and get a couple bars of this in here. Ooh, that's a nice beat. I'm going to get a couple more and a couple bars. There we go. Okay, and that one is at 174 as well. And that is called James Jam. Cool. Save. Save that to the card and keep it in the session. And number 60, this one's called Rock and Roll. Cool. Whoa, that's loud. Okay, start muting out these parts. Is that it? There we go. Cool. Arm and record a couple bars of that one. Only got 4 more to go after this, and I'll have all of the beats recorded out of the ESX-1, which as of this morning wasn't functioning. So this is really cool that we were able to get that fixed, and also that we were able to do it in real time so that potentially other people who might be experiencing the same problem with their ESX-1 might be able to open it up and, you know, get the courage to open it up. I was pretty scared to do it when I did the EMX one, I'll tell you what. Okay, we've got that one. Now we'll go to A61, which is called Jiggly. Get a little more level here. Nice. Okay. Let's tame the reverb on this one a little bit. Tighten that up just a little bit, you know. Get those levels back in line. I'm trying to record most of these at about -3 decibels, give or take. Let's record a couple bars of that. Yeah, the gas station crew definitely helped me. I've got a chat that I'm involved in with a few of my friends on Facebook. And like we're all, you know, musicians, and we all, you know, like to talk about gear a lot. So we've called our chat group the gas station. And those guys are really like pretty much my best online friends these days. Really appreciate, you know, having a circle to go to get stuff like this. So some of these names absolutely came from some of my buddies offering up some suggestions. Thanks, Tony, for whatever suggestions you may have put into this bank. I really appreciate that. Let's get pattern 62. We're almost done here. This is called Complex. All right. Mute some of these. I think it really helps to have actually a circle of friends, like a small group of friends that have common goals as you, that you can, you know, continually push each other to do better. And that's sort of, you know, what my friends and I do in that gas station group. It's not always just about egging each other on to buy new gear per se, or talking about, you know, the gas, you know, gear acquisition syndrome, but also it's about, you know, really just pushing each other to do better, to try harder. If somebody's got a problem, you know, to be able to bounce that off the guys in the chat who are also, you know, electronic musicians is really great, as opposed to just having to Google everything yourself, so where you're just out there on a limb, you know, by yourself. If you can find some like-minded folks that you can share some time with and, you know, really get into like bouncing ideas creatively off each other, I really think that's a powerful thing, Okay, it's moving on to the next one. This is A60 to the Lion's Den again, but we already got that. So I'll skip that one then, and we'll go to A64, which is called Bloodale. Cool, little drum and bass funky groove here. Let's mute that. Mute that. Mute. Yeah. What does it sound like without that? Oh my gosh, way cool. That is a sick beat right there. Okay, let's go ahead and get that all the way down and record this guy. Yeah, thanks, Tony. I really appreciate that. You know I love you guys. Okay. That one was at 174 beats per minute, 174. And that one was called Blood. Okay, Blood. Let's save that and keep it. And I think that's probably the last pattern in here. Yeah, that is the last pattern in here. So we have done it. For those of you who have hung out with me for this stream, I really appreciate, you being with me. I really appreciate you hanging out and checking out the fix of the Electribe ESX-1 with me. I'm going to put a link to the exact parchment paper that I'm using here. I'm going to put a link to this. I bought this off of Amazon. I'm going to put a link to this exact parchment paper underneath the video once the stream is over, so that anybody catching this on the replay can find the exact parchment paper that I used. Again, it's not a guarantee that it's going to fix knob jitter on every ESX1 and on every EMX1. Sometimes there's issues with the knobs. You might need to have a potentiometer, replaced. If you're not into soldering, you might need to find a local shop who can do that. You can definitely track down the actual knobs, the potentiometers for these units online still. If you're able to do soldering yourself and you need to replace something, there are still parts for these old machines available. So I'm going to call it. See, we've been streaming for, oh my goodness, about 2 hours and 45 minutes today, actually. So really, thanks for everyone who's been hanging around. I'm going to let give a few minutes for you guys to say goodbye to each other in the chat. And also, before I go, if anybody has any questions, or maybe if I've missed any questions along the way of the stream, I can still hang out for a few minutes. Hope you'll be patient as well, and we can hang out for a few more minutes and answer any questions if anything pops up in the chat. Hey, thanks, Andy. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out. Thanks, Konstantinos. All right. Yeah, cool deal. So let's see here. We did record almost, let's see, like 50 some odd beats out of the Electribe. That went really, really quickly. And now I can basically go into the browser. I can, find specifically the cruiser card, and I can safely eject the card the same way that I would from a computer. And now I can just take this over to my audio editor on the desktop, which is SoundForge on the PC. That's been my editor for literally about 20 years now. My daily editor, how I edit all of the samples for Electronisounds, is SoundForge on the PC. Okay. I might have skipped Hey, thanks very much for that. I will definitely check it out. Thank you. All right. Working on the MK2. Cool deal, Tony. All right. So I really appreciate you all being here, and we'll definitely be having another stream next Sunday. I'm never exactly sure what we're going to be doing. Originally, I was trying to do Eurorack content on these Sunday streams only, but I know a lot of people, a lot of my viewers, aren't really, into Eurorack, so I've been kind of trying to mix it up, and, I did a few streams with iPad, and I did a few streams with just, let's talk about, the different hardware that I've got in the room. I really have some interesting, I think, ideas for upcoming streams to do some more stuff with like MyRack, which is the, Eurorack software on the iPad. I have some interesting ideas as far as being able to potentially combine MyRack in sync with my big system over here. And I've also got some ideas to to connect up MyRack to like a large, robust sound card and use the individual outs on that sound card to send the modules in MyRack out through like hardware processors and guitar pedals and fun stuff. But there's never really enough hours in the day, and I have so many projects that I'm working on kind of at the same time. I owe other people live sets as well. I finished one this week, so good there. But it's basically just lots of this type of stuff in here for me. Now I've got to edit all these drum samples and keep moving forward on the Poly N Tracker sound bank as well. Just make sure I'm not missing anything for the last minute. Yeah, thanks very much, you guys. All right, fantastic. So until next week, thanks for watching.